Father's Day. And it's like a family reunion where you like everybody. There's about 100 folks that come. And with COVID the past couple of years, we've had to move the dates. We've had a cancellation. So we are really excited that in about 3.5 weeks, we're going to have over 100 APBA folks dropping by the offices, breaking bread with, having some innovation sessions, a Friday night banquet, and then a Saturday tournament. So you guys are in South Florida. It's 10, 11-hour drive up to Northeast Atlanta. We got room. Hotels got room. The more the merrier. So if you can make it, let us know. I recommend you let us know this week so we make sure we get a shirt for you. We're going from t-shirts to polo shirts, and there's more of a lead time needed for the polo shirts, and just because of the supply chain issues in general for most products these days. Our best-selling sport is baseball, and it's the first one. And APBA predecessor was National Pastime Games by Cliff Van Beek. The Van Beek family had a patent for 20 years. Van Beek started this in the midst of the Depression. His printer went out of business. After his copyright patent protection ran out and Seitz had not heard from him, Seitz then decided to release his version of National Pastime, calling it APBA. The initial pastime had hitting only, and Seitz added pitching and fielding. Some people think we should run away from the national pastime part, but no, it's part of APBA's history. And we've embraced it. We have a Hall of Fame here, and Cliff Van Beek was inducted into the Hall of Fame 5 or 6 years ago, and one of his sons and 2 of his daughters accepted the plaque on his behalf. Since I like to think APBA is the most playable and realistic game, and what we focus on is playability. People say you don't have the shift. That's taken into account in the cards. You don't have this, you don't have that. When I look at the baseball sim market, it's a pyramid. And where we really, really want to dominate is the bottom. We want to get you when you're 7, 8, 9 years old. Because what will happen is we will get you then. We might get you in high school. Most cases, you'll stay playing the game in high school until you get a date with a girl. And then we lose you for a while. Understandable. A lot of guys take their games to college, play them in the dorms. And after they graduate, life kind of takes over. You start your career, you start your family, whatnot. And then what happens is when your children become 7, 8, 9 years old, you introduce them to APBA. And then when you have an empty nest, you start playing APBA again. And when you retire, we can tell the guys that are retired, we get large orders from them because they've got big plans, bless their hearts, about what they're going to do. So there's really 5 APBA cycles in an APBA fan's life. And that's what we're trying to meet, are those different cycles and those different ages. I don't pay a lot of attention to what other game companies do. Maybe that's the mistake. But I am proud that we offer every season of Major League Baseball from 1901 through 2021 in cards. And the 14 and 15 seasons include the Federal League. We have some special sets. We've got 5 volumes of great team sets. We got a Baseball Hall of Fame set. We got franchise all-stars, pre-expansion, post-expansion. We've got a 20-team Great Negro League set. And we offer those products in cards for the card and dice game, for BBW, which is our PC game, Windows PC based game, and for APBA Go, which is our online version of the APBA basic game at this point. We have gone back and redone all but 6 seasons from 1954 through 2021, where we have carded every player. There are 6 seasons left, early 80s through the early 90s. And those will be completed by December of 23. And we will redo those and include every player that played that season. Everyone will get their APBA card, even if it's 1 at bat, September call up on September 29th with 1 at bat. At this time, there are no plans to go back any earlier than 1954. There's just not a strong demand for that to justify the investment of time and passing on other opportunities. We are this year experimenting with the 2022 season, where we offered late April a 2022 season file for APBA Go. We started updating that. We did 2 updates this past week. Now that we're into the season, about 40, 50 games or days, we'll start doing that more frequently. The last update included Bobby Witt and a couple other the heralded rookies, based on some projections we do based on our experiences with APBA and 120 years of baseball. So we'll continue to make that more robust it's an experiment, and we're working through the bugs with that, but I'm pretty comfortable now. We've got a system down that we can keep that more current. That file does not remove anybody that's been cut or is on the IR. Once you're on a team for a season, you stay in that file. The exception is we released Trevor Bauer last week. He's not going to play this year, and it just seemed the right thing to do. It's not a political statement. He wasn't going to play this year. Obviously, with a projection season, it's up to you. You can do what you want to do. Draft teams, lineups, whatever. And let us know your reaction, because like I said, this is an experiment. We are also experimenting on this with a 2022 card set. Right now, we are Series 1 of 100 players. With every purchase of a full season baseball card set or specialty set, you get 110 cards of this set, of this 100 card set. And again, this is an experiment. The tentative plan is to do 5 of these series, so you'd have 500 cards if you got them all or whatever. Series 3 will be the series where we release the rookies, guys making their debut. There'll be enough data points there to be pretty comfortable with what their projection is going to be. We may, around the All-Star break, come out with a file for BBW, a projection file. APBA Go, we can make changes in the file daily. So that's much more convenient and a better platform to update as often as we can versus the cards and dice or a BBW CD or file. So that's where we are. And I'll take questions. I think I'm going to learn more from you and cover topics that I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. So Sam, I'll turn it over to you to be the moderator, I guess.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody, you can take yourself off of mute. Remember, there is no questions about how they develop the formulas. I'll get it started. I grew up playing APBA. I inherited it from my father. He started playing when he was a teen and passed the love of the game on to me. And as a kid, I played countless and countless hours doing statistics, checking them off on the on pieces of paper. There was errors along the way, but I had a lot of fun. I played out the 44 season, 57 and 79, and a lot of great memories. I was going to ask you, John, do you run into at the conventions and when you meet people, how many people that play the game actually have it passed on from a father or a grandfather or a family member or a brother even? How often do you run into that?
I run into it more with younger guys now, and the older guys got into APBA through the Baseball Digest ads or Street and Smith ads, send away for your free sample card and brochure. So they were introduced to it basically directly from APBA. But then when they would get the brochure and or buy the game, then they start sharing, with the guys in the neighborhood, in the summer, put together a league or whatnot. But more and more, the young people now that are starting to get involved are picking it up from a family member, grandfather, father, uncle, mom, in some cases, whatever, because, print advertising doesn't work anymore. So I would say anybody 60 and older, I bet 90% of them got into APBA through the ads. And if you're younger than 60, I would say about 95% of them got it through family or friend, somebody that passed it down to them or shared the experience with them.
I'm just curious, of all the people, we have 14 in the chat right now. How many of you played APBA as a kid or as an adult?
I have.
Quite a few. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, good.
Good.
Hey, you know what, guys? I have
I
never
did.
played. Hey, guys, I've never played APBA, but I did play a game called Status Pro Baseball avidly. And I'm wondering if any of you guys played that game and what the differences might be between APBA and I played Status Pro in the 80s.
I played it. There's quite a few differences.
What would you say they are?
Well, for one thing, Status Pro starts with a roll of the pitcher.
Okay.
APBA is a roll with the batter.
Okay.
And the results of the batter are adjusted by the pitcher.
Interesting.
I forget how to play. It was so long ago, but I played.
You have a question? I don't know if Peter could hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Did you have a question, Peter?
I'm kind of, I think I'm a little confused here. It seems to me that the dice games are kind of, what is the word I want?
Antiquated.
I would say antiquated, out of fashion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't know how many people, I don't know how many kids would be interested in just playing dice when they have so many video kinds of games to choose from now.
Well, Peter, our experience is, and there's a video on our homepage of our website where there's a couple of boys, 9, 10, 11 years old, where they're just playing on the floor with the cards spread out, rolling dice. It's board games are coming back. And my opinion is that if you are in front of a screen all day, be it in school with a laptop or at work with your computer monitor or whatever, and you're punching on keys and a mouse, you want a different feel for your entertainment or your leisure time. Otherwise, it just kind of seems like a continuation. And especially if you have a boss that can email you anytime, you're never away from work. The biggest drawback with cards and dice from folks we talk to is keeping stats, keeping your replay stats. And there is a free software program. We don't own it. We have permission to do this, called Ballstat. And I think it's just ballstat.com, that people use. That it's a computer program, obviously, and they score the game they're playing with their cards and dice, and that automatically updates all your stats. We have people that play APBA Go, and with APBA Go, you can manually roll the dice, enter the dice roll into the game, and when you're making your substitutions, they go through their deck of cards to see what players they have available, and then go into the game to pinch hit or replace them or bring in a new pitcher, what have you. So they get the feel and the noise of the cards and dice, but they use APBA Go primarily then as a scoring software program. So it keeps track of all your statistics. I think why older folks are in tune to the board game is technology savvy or lack thereof. And it brings back memories of being 7, 10, 14, whatever, when you started playing the game or when you went back to playing the game. We had a tremendous resurgence in board game sales, the basic baseball game sales during COVID, and that has remained strong. We are selling last year we sold double what the average was for 5 years previous to COVID. And when did COVID start? 2020, I guess. And we're on a pace to double that this year. So for some reason, people, board games, sitting around the table, especially with family, especially if you're introducing young people to it, there's been a resurgence of that. But for a lot of people, these simulation games where you're the manager are not their cup of tea. They rather play Madden or NBA K, or I'm sure there's a MLB video game somewhere. And young kids, but what happens with those is those games are hand-eye coordination. And my middle son played high school football down here. And every Saturday night, 7 of his teammates came over and they had Madden football tournaments, 2 teams, 2 players on each team. And by the 3rd week, the same 4 guys were losing the first round. And I said, here, try this. And I gave them a game of APBA football, since obviously we have some games in the house. And after that, every week they rather played APBA football because they didn't have the hand-eye coordination to beat the kids in Madden. And then it came down to treachery, your thoughts of what might be the right way or the right play to call or the right lineup, whatever. And so there's an attraction there to board games, especially for kids who just don't have that hand-eye coordination, or their parents can't afford it or whatever, or they constantly get beat to try something different. So they're not going away. They'll never go away. Will they ever reach their historic heights? No. Will they ever surpass video games, computer games? No. But if you offer a quality product with playability and realism, there'll always be a market for it.
But in general, I do not understand. When I started playing the game in 1957, there were 20 players on a team, and that was okay. But today, a card set is humongous, because you have a card for every player, even if sometimes they don't even bat. maybe they pinch ran or something. And I do not understand the purpose of that except to increase the price of the card set.
No, it's not that at all. And first of all, let me say that there's two sets we offer. We offer a base set, and that's 30 players per team. And as you all know, we only sell leagues. We do not sell teams. And that's a management, that's an inventory management decision. If we have 120 seasons, and let's say on average it's 20 teams. That's how many thousand items of inventory. And we had a chance to experiment about 5 years ago because we had some card back for when we printed some cards in-house. And instead of throwing it away, we offered single teams. Not one team, I did not sell enough of any one team to recover the cost of the manufacturing that. We have to order in quantities of 20. And none of them came close to what the break-even point was with that. To get back to your question about why everybody would want one, the remaining cards go in what we call the XC, extra, at time of start, it was for extra computer, because BBW had every player on the disc. It's for replayers. About a third of our customers want a replay the season with the actual lineups, actual starting pitchers, with the players on whatever roster, and they want those guys. And that policy was started before I bought the company. So we continue it for those replayers. But I agree with you. Absolutely. That's why we don't throw in. Last year, there was over 1,500 players in our two sets. That's why, though, we offered the 30 card base set. 20 cards obviously is not enough anymore in today's game. So that's why we offer 30. And then if you're a replayer, or there's somebody in the XC set that you really want or whatever, or you have a draft league and it includes those, that's who those are for. But it does, if you just want the base 30, you can get those.
John, I have a question from Amy Sabato.
Hi, Amy.
To what do you attribute the long-lasting fandom of APBA? There are seniors still enjoying APBA games and creating mock-ups, chasing down envelopes, etc.
The playability. If you think of it, like I said, I don't follow other games. That avoids, people saying, "Oh, you took this idea from us" or whatever. And frankly, Dick Seitz and Fritz Light had laid a very solid foundation. The biggest thing, it's playability, and it's baseball. It's not fantasy baseball where you're accumulating points or whatever. You're playing baseball. You're trying to score runs. 9 innings, 3 outs per inning. I think that's the biggest thing. It is the closest thing to baseball. I know there are others that will say there's others out there. That's okay. Different strokes for different folks. The envelopes, we have a unique size for envelopes, so it's always a special print run. Right now, all card stock and paper products in general are scarce, and prices are rapidly increasing. We've been lucky so far. The folks with the envelopes, with the logos and whatever, they're not part of us. And the reason we don't offer them is because those are licensed items, those logos. And who's ever producing those for resale needs to have a license from the owner of those logos, which is primarily major in this, talking baseball, Major League Baseball. And those are very expensive. There's a lot of requirements, a lot of hoops to jump through. So we don't do that. That's why the envelopes today just have the team name. back in the day, sites would have New York Yankees, Chicago White Sox. You can't do that today without paying Major League Baseball a license fee, and it's not inexpensive at all. So we don't do that, but I remember reading those ads when I was a kid, thinking that was great to have Mickey Mantle on your living room floor or your bedroom floor or on your bed or, on the table, your friends coming over. That was better than Topps baseball cards. And for those of us who are wired like that and have those experiences, that it's ABBA. And, the more you play it, the easier, you memorize the board results, especially, no one on. You can play a game while you're waiting for somebody to go somewhere or whatever, and you can always pick it up. So I think it's the same reason why people back in the day collected baseball cards. They're kind of wired for that, and that's an interest of theirs.
Interesting. Amy has actually another question for you. How does the getting tongue-tied here, how do the baseball APBA games do versus football, golf, hockey, so forth? And what do you think of the APBA Facebook groups?
The baseball game when I started was 75% of the total baseball. It's down to 60% of the business. Numbers are increasing, but the percentage is down. My goal long-term is to have baseball, football, soccer each be 25% of the business in whatever platforms we offer it. And then hockey, golf, I always laugh that we're going to offer cricket. People always ask about basketball. Whatever other sports we offer would be the other 25%. So it'd be like a three-leg stool with football, baseball, and soccer. Soccer's doing very well. That's not surprising though, because soccer video game outsells Madden football video game in the United States it's 3.5 million units to 3 million units for football. Amy, the Facebook pages I don't go to very often. Actually, the only time I go is when somebody mentions my name and then I get a notice from Facebook. I'm not opposed to it. But I came from the large corporate world and you need a gatekeeper. And our gatekeeper is customer support at ABBA Games. If you have a question for us, you have a problem with your order or where is it or whatever, that's what you should use is customer support at ABBA Games. And we'll get to it within 48 hours. That's what we pride ourselves on. But we're not Amazon. We got a handful of folks here. So it may take a day or two to answer your question or respond to your email. Like the only reason I have a Facebook page is our oldest son went to New Zealand for a year of college 10 years ago. And that was a way for us to keep in touch with him. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old granddaughter whose mother posts a lot of stuff they do. And that's the other reason for it, is to stay closer to them. But as far as using it as a business tool, we post once in a while, like the football games when we do the football playoff, because people seem to like that. But if you want to reach us with customer support or some questions, go to it's CUSTSUPP@abbagames.com. I know there's some good sites out there. TGA Golf, their end of the year tournament is the convention golf tournament, and the winner of that's match play, gets a convention trophy. So there's some in it, but it's just so many, and we don't have enough resources to really check them all out, know what's going on, or comment. But it's the best thing that happened to ABBA was when the ABBA Journal was being published. You know, the Ganos brothers started that. That is, every business would kill to have that type of publication, and the number of subscribers for that publication. We're trying to create that via Between the Lines, the message board on our website, and APBA Go forum, to kind of recreate that. If others want to do that on Facebook pages, that's great. That's great.
How is Major League Baseball involved in APBA, if at all? And does APBA need any kind of license to use likenesses, names, teams, etc.?
We don't need any permission from Major League Baseball because we don't use anything they can license. You know, they cannot prevent us from using the name of a city, Philadelphia. They can prevent us or make us pay to use Philadelphia Phillies. We cannot use American League or National League. That's why sites back in the day switched to senior circuit, junior circuit. We just have the city name. For a while, the envelope had the city name and then junior or senior circuit. But it just became an inventory issue to, you know, order envelopes for Philadelphia junior circuit for 50 seasons versus just ordering Philadelphia that we can use for hockey, football, baseball for any season. It just made sense. If we wanted to get more involved, we could, but there's a price, a very large price, and we would pass that cost on into the cost of product. And I try to be as sensitive as I can to price increases. And we have taken other steps to absorb some of the price increases that we've had lately. It seems like every month, it was like when you go grocery shopping, you see it. Every month your grocery bill gets a lot bigger and bigger. And that's what we're seeing with costs from our printers, our shipping packages, whatnot. And we're trying to keep those costs down. And I don't, the vast majority of our customers really aren't into likenesses or having it licensed. I know the guys running the APBA in the 2000s had them licensed with the logos. But those guys' long-term, long-range plan was to get a baseball card license. One of the guys had worked at Fleer. That's not our plan. With the Players Association, at one time, we paid a royalty to the Players Association. And until you got their approval, MLB, the Players Association's approval for the names and nicknames in your set, you couldn't do anything. And what would happen is APBA would send theirs in late September and we wouldn't hear anything. And then all of a sudden, the folks on Long Island would, drive into New York, get approval, and they're announcing it. And then APBA says, "What about us?" "Oh yeah, we'll get back to you." There was 12, 15 years ago when Major League BAM, MLB's online social media group, people that have MLB Network, they bought from the Players Association their rights to use their names and likenesses for fantasy games, rotisserie baseball, what have you. And then BAM turned around and granted 10 licenses. And the minimum payment was $1 million. And there was a guy in St. Louis, a magazine distributor, very successful, who had done a lot of providing the services for scoring, the weekly reports, whatnot, for fantasy leagues. He was not granted a license. And he sued. He kept doing his business and he said, "I don't need anyone's permission to use the player's name or their statistics." And he won at the lowest court level. It was appealed. He won at the next level. It was appealed to the circuit court. He won at that level, and then it went to this U.S. Supreme Court, and he won again. And basically what it says is we can use their name, their stats. We cannot use their names in a role in such a role that you would interpret them as endorsing ABBA. But like in the old brochures where it would say, you know, Hank Henry, Willie Mays, your power hitters will lead your league in home runs. We can still do that because we're not saying Henry Aaron or Willie Mays endorses APBA Baseball. We don't use likenesses for that same reason. And those licenses are prohibitively expensive. But the other thing those licenses did, that case did, was it opened up golf. So we did not have to get the Tiger Woods permission individually. We could use his name, Arnold Palmer, whoever. On the baseball side, it also eliminated the need to use initials for Babe Ruth, you know, Hank Greenberg, and some of the other folks that were licensed by Curtis Licensing, where they wanted $20,000 per card set plus a percentage, which the numbers don't justify paying that. But that decision, so we don't need their approval, so we get the cards out sooner. And it opens.
It was exciting though.
What was exciting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking around watching that Heat team, and I said, I don't even know a lot of these guys. I haven't been watching them during the year. And I mean, the Heat guys. I didn't know BJ Tucker. I don't know. I still don't know one of the guys. A whole bunch of them. I don't know who they are. Yeah, entertaining. Yep. But this is the year they could.
I think he's talking to somebody else. Tom, you're talking about something that's not on the Zoom call.
Okay, I guess he got muted. I'm sorry, go ahead,
No, that's all. I was finished talking about that. So it makes it, we can offer more seasons so we can keep prices down.
I have another question that came in. Where do you see APBA in the next 5 years?
ABBA will always produce board games. Our cards will always have rounded corners. And we'll always have, the rounded corners are like a trademark of ABBA. My goal with the quality of the games, the materials, the cards, is to be the blue box. What I mean by that, the blue box at Tiffany's. So when you're in deep trouble, you got to get something, or you just want to get something nice for your wife, I always go to Tiffany's. When they see the blue box, they know it's something special. So that's the goal, my personal goal with regard to the quality of materials. I would see long-term that eventually the percentage of business done electronically, primarily on the internet, will be probably 3/4 to 85% of the total business. But like I said, we will always offer cards and dice, always, and we'll always offer the rounded corners. It's part of our DNA, and there is a demand for that product. Other sports, to launch a new game is a 2-year process, roughly, from beginning to design to testing, to where you really get it introduced and accepted by the community, get your processes down for making cards and whatnot. Get a lot of questions about some of the games we used to offer, like horse racing. We've experimented down that path several times. I actually have a couple of prototypes of different games. ABBA makes their games on the card sales. That's our razor blades, not the games. we make no money on the games because of the quality of the products. And that was an intentional choice that we made so people would know, hey, this is ABBA. It's good product, good packaging. Because for a while our packaging sucked. And part of that continued when we took over until we could, change that. So I'm very sensitive to that. But horse racing, people probably, I don't even remember it, know who won the Kentucky Derby 3 weeks ago. But there's not many horses to sell. Bowling, people ask about. It's just, there's just not a demand there. It's a handful of people that are interested in it. And because the secondary market, the prices are high, they think we'll make a lot of money. And there's just not a demand for it. But the other thing it does is to make a quality horse set or a quality bowling set, it's not just inputting numbers. You need to really understand that sport and who's good, who's not, whatever. And that would require us to say, are we going to drop Pac-12 football? Are we only going to do 2 new baseball season sets a year instead of 3? We'd have to make choices. And there are opportunity costs that go with that. The third one they asked about is boxing. We never owned the game. We licensed it. So we have no rights to that. But those 3 sports, while there is a vocal demand, there's not a large demand for that. We keep looking at basketball, and we look at basketball because there's 350 some men's college basketball teams, and we could make sets for all those teams. We could do a top 25 or a top 30 women's college basketball set. We could do the NBA, and we could catch up. There's 50 years of NBA sets we could catch up and offer over time. So there's a lot of potential there. We could do European sets. I'm not sure what the demand is, to be honest. And, in some ways, the NBA is very polarizing for folks. And a lot of those folks happen to be our customers. But basketball makes the most sense. I jokingly tell people cricket. And, they kind of shrug their shoulders. I'm half joking. Cricket is viewed, the opening day of cricket in India has more viewers than the World Cup final has. And the World Cup final has 10 times more viewers than the Super Bowl. Worldwide viewership. And and next year there's going to be an introduction of a North American professional cricket league, 12 teams. So who knows? We look at it. This year we're adding a 16-team men's college hockey card set to hockey. The 16 teams that made the finals. So we're looking at things, and we'll experiment. And if the demand isn't there for the college hockey set, we'll look at something else. We've had people suggest a NASCAR game, and if you've ever played a NASCAR video game, you're right in the car. I mean, it just doesn't compare. Someone suggested a catamaran game. We've had a lot of suggestions for sports they enjoy, but they're really niche sports. But basketball is probably the most likely new one. With ABBA Go, we will start to offer minor league sets and current and historical, Japanese, Korean. If we do any Negro League season sets, it would be on ABBA Go. And those sets would only be available on ABBA Go. We would not offer them for either BBW or for cards and dice. And those sets baseball is probably 2/3 statistics and 1/3 art. because we're trying to replicate the team's result. And obviously, if you look at Los Angeles last year and you look at San Francisco, the sum of the parts is much greater for San Francisco than the Dodgers. So then you're looking at, fielding ratings and pitching ratings. Just how do you get them to the 107 wins or whatever they had? That's the art part of it. Most of these sets that we will do for APBA Go, and they'll be reviewed and whatnot, but there won't be as much of the art in the file. So that's what I see is, and football, we will, in 5 years, we'll have offered every football season, pro football season from 57 forward. Golf, we will continue to offer 4 to 5 golf courses every year. We will not add the actual name of the golf course. Every year, an attorney for a very prominent golf course comes in to make sure we're not using that golf course's names on our golf courses. I have asked them what it would cost for a license, and they would want $250,000 up front plus 18% of each sale. So your $25-$30 golf course is, it's just not doable. It's not feasible to get it licensed to use the actual name. I know others do. The problem with being, I consider the best, but also one of the largest, and having the history we have, especially in print, so people are aware of APBA from years ago, is all these licensing agencies know about us, and every year they check to make sure we're not violating their intellectual property. So it will continue. It'll just be, it'll be more electronic. But everything, if you want cards and dice, they will always be available, always.
Who is next with a question?
I just had a question for the old timers. Could you explain APBA Go?
Sure. APBA Go is the basic baseball game, but you play it on the internet, and the game is free. So if you go to abago.com, you can sign in. You're not going to be asked for a credit card or anything, and you get the 2021 Astros and Braves, the 2 World Series teams. So it's based on the basic game. It plays like the basic game, but you're playing it on a computer. You can manage both teams. You can use a computer manager for a team, or you can play with a friend in Australia or wherever, your grandson, your great-grandson, your brother, a friend you're catching up with. And it's just another platform to play APBA baseball, basic baseball. And unlike cards and dice, if you decide you like APBA Go and you want more teams, you do not have to buy a season. We do offer seasons, but you also can buy individual teams instead. And another option is you can be a monthly subscriber and you get access to everything. Every season we offer all 120 seasons. Any new seasons we offer, you automatically have access to, as long as you're still a subscriber. So it's kind of a nod to the 21st century and where, this industry is going.
Ted, did you have a question? It just came across my board. I think the question he had was, SI used to offer a decathlon game. Track and field would be interesting. I guess it's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, those are to the women on this call, and I don't mean to minimize pregnancy by any means. I have 4 children, but pregnancy is, the woman becomes pregnant and, it's about a year carrying the baby, whatever, and then you have the baby, and it's another year before, the woman's body gets back to what it was pre-pregnancy. It's like a 2-year process. And that's what it's like to introduce a game. any sport, anything new. It takes about 2 years to do that. And they're all niche sports. That's the big challenge is if you're going to do it, it's got to be able to support itself. When we decide what we're going to invest in, we look at the sales for that sport or for that product, and we don't spend any more than what it's bringing in. And some of our products, multiple users can pay one time and use that, and then they wonder why we aren't reinvesting in it. Well, there's nothing left to reinvest in it. But again, like the decathlon is the variety of events, the variety of competitors, and knowing them and understanding them so you can make a realistic card for that individual. We don't have that expertise or the resources to do that. And that's the primary thing is we're not going to offer anything unless we're proud to put the APBA name on it and we know it's going to be playable and realistic.
Okay, is there anybody else in the audience that has a question for Mr. Herson?
I have a question. Where am I? Can
Go
you
ahead,
see me?
sir.
Yes. John, what do you think is more important? Playability or realism?
Well, since we have both, I think the first impression to get customers to play your game again and buy more product is playability. I used to be a corporate tax professional in another life. And the first time I read the instructions to the football game back in the 70s, it was worse than reading the Internal Revenue Code. And that's why, as we in the past years have redone all the packaging and the game materials, we went back over the instructions to make sure they were readable so that you'd want to play a second, third, fourth time. Our hockey game is about a 6-game learning curve. So if it's not playable and easy to understand right off the bat, they're probably not going to play it again. They'll just put it on a shelf and chalk it up to a bad decision. But it has to be realistic. But one of the things, I was talking about this earlier tonight to somebody about basketball, is I think the genius of Van Beek Insights with APBA was that it is per at bat, not per pitch. You roll the dice one time for the at bat. You don't roll it for every pitch. And because of that, you're getting, 15, 20-minute game, and it's playable and it feels like baseball. You can have a walk-off, you can have a dog 18-3 game. It builds up the excitement of baseball, like baseball does in certain situations. So they go hand in hand for me. But if you can't get someone to play it because they can't understand how to play it or it's too complicated, you're going to lose them. But once you get them and they're willing and they know how to play your game, the game has to be realistic or they're not coming back either. So that I would say playability is 1 and realism is 1A.
John, when is the upcoming convention and where will it be located at?
The convention every year is the weekend after Father's Day. And it's scheduled to start Thursday afternoon, June 23rd, I believe. My computer is acting up, so I can't get to a calendar. And Thursday afternoon, people just start coming in. They come to the office over here, sit in my office, meet friends, yak. Thursday afternoon, we give demonstrations of the non-baseball board games. So if you're considering buying a game or you want to see how it plays, whatever, that would be your chance. Thursday night, after you're on your own for dinner, usually somebody brings a horse racing game and there's a horse racing tournament, or guys are playing football. hockey, baseball, baseball throughout the hotel. The hotel is very accommodating. We've been going there now for, I don't know how long we've been. This is our 10th year there, I believe. So they know us. The attendees know the hotel. They know what to expect. Friday morning is innovations, but this year we have Ted Knorr. I'm sure many of you know Ted. Ted's a Negro League expert. Ted has used ABBA in several different projects he's been involved in with Negro League Baseball, or comparing a Negro League team to the MLB team in that era. And then we have more innovations. And that, people just bring what, I do this, what do you think of that, whatever. And during the Friday, I'm trying to find the date here, the exact date. Yeah, Thursday the 23rd is when it starts. Friday all day, we have innovations in the morning, and we have a par 3 golf tournament using ABBA Golf up until about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, and somebody gets a trophy. Friday afternoon, we have what we used to call the ABBA Home Run Derby contest. Major League Baseball has informed us that we cannot use the term home run derby, that they've licensed it and we need to pay for it. So we're calling it clearing the fence. And it's the old version. It's the 9-inning game from the late 50s, early 60s. And this first year we had 10, and last year we had mid 50s. And last year, a young man who had started when he was 10 playing with Don Drysdale won last year with Don Drysdale. And Tyler is like 16 years old now. Tyler comes with his mom and dad and an uncle and a cousin. So the convention's for everybody. And like the game is, if you win the home run derby, you get a regulation size Louisville Slugger. And at the top, it will say, this year, 2022 ABBA Home Run Derby champ, and then your name and script. I like to think it's the second best trophy in sports after the Stanley Cup. Then 4 to 5:30-ish, there's a Q&A with me where, people can ask anything. I reserve the right not to answer it, or leave comments. And, the comments are what they are. We listen to every comment. We read every email. We don't always respond to every email, but we do read every email. If somebody makes a suggestion that really won't work, we'll thank them for the email, but that will be it. We have a banquet starting at 6 o'clock Friday evening. After the banquet, we're putting in 3 people in the ABBA Hall of Fame this year. We give out some trophies. While the convention is going on, there's a football tournament. There is a hockey tournament that's been going on now for about 6 weeks. And there's a soccer tournament that's going on. And the finals are all played in Alpharetta. So usually by Friday evening, those have been finalized. Winners get the hardware. You have to, by 9 o'clock Friday night, submit the team you're going to play in the Saturday tournament with your roster. And the reason it has to be in by 9 o'clock Friday evening is I still have to make the brackets up for that, because the tournament starts at 9 o'clock Saturday morning. You're guaranteed 10 games in pool play. We're at the point now where it's 8 divisions. There might be 10 teams in a division. We'll have to see. That'll go all day. You get lunch Saturday as part of the convention fee. And quarterfinals are finished up Saturday, usually before dinner. Friday night this year, we're really excited because Fritz Light, who succeeded Dick Seitz as the owner of ABBA, is coming to the convention, and he's agreed to do a question and answer afterwards. So we're really excited about that. then Sunday is the semifinals and finals, and people are always playing APBA football, APBA baseball if they're no longer in the tournament. It's a reunion. It's like seeing these folks that you haven't seen, and especially this being the first, I guess, post-normal COVID year. A lot of excitement to see these folks. For me, they've become friends, and that's the community. That's the secret sauce, the friendships that are created playing this game. So if it's up in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is northeast Atlanta, it is, so you either have to go through Atlanta if you're coming from the south, or go around Atlanta. The hotel's a Hilton Garden. There is a special APBA rate. But I just found out, somebody said they got the last room, so we'll get some rooms added to the blocks. If you don't want to play in the tournament and just want to check it out, come up Friday, and you can stay for dinner if you want. There's you'd have to pay for your meal, but if you just want to do the Derby and innovations and meet some folks, that's free. Just, if you're in the area or on the way someplace else, stop in and check it out. And I think you'll be surprised. You probably know a person or two that's there already, and hopefully you'll come back again and again.
All right, and do we have any more questions? All right, John. Well, we appreciate you sharing all the information about APBA. I have a bad habit. I grew up calling it APBA, and I've got to get better at calling it APBA. But always in my household, we called it APBA baseball, and it's in my brain. So,
Sam, as long as you're smiling with whatever you call it, that's what counts.
well, thank you for addressing the group. We really loved having you, and your presentation was awesome. We so much appreciate it. I think we can all agree we learned a lot about baseball strategy and had a greater appreciation of the game because of APBA baseball, APBA baseball. And we look forward to APBA in the future and what you're going to do. And hopefully maybe you'll come back and join us again someday.
I'd like to. I appreciate the invitation. I really do. And I appreciate all your questions, your interest. If you are ever in the Atlanta area, we have an office warehouse where you can drop in if you want to get a tour, whatever. What I do recommend strongly is that you email us at least 24 hours in advance to make sure somebody is here. I've talked about my granddaughters. Sometimes something pops up, and like tomorrow, my oldest one it's the last week of school, and she's got an honor convention or whatever ceremony tomorrow morning. We just got a notice today. Well, I'm not missing that. She's only gonna be in 4th grade one time. But if you give us 24 hours notice, we'll be sure we're here. And more importantly, if you think you want to order something, by giving us that notice, if we have to print envelopes or something, we'll have that done. Or if we don't have something, we can tell you. And then if you want to change your plans, you're able to do that. But you're more than welcome anytime. You've got suggestions. We have stolen ideas from the APBA community. We reorganized the football game. Instead of having it by type of play, it's now by field position. And that came from a customer who said, why don't you do this? So if you've got a good idea or something you think that'll make the game better. The one thing to remember though is the game has to work for 120 years of baseball, because we only have one game, and that's how many years of cards we're offering. But I appreciate the time. I hope I didn't go over too long, and roll 66s and enjoy the rest of the baseball season.
Thank you, John. And
Thank you, John.
for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for the invitation. I
everybody.
really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, are we still on?
Yeah, we're still here, some of us.
I got a question for you guys. See, so I never played APBA, but I played that Status Pro game. And, it's all numerically measured if you're playing a season. And I was wondering how, for those who have played, how many times that you do get a fluke season. Like a guy seems to be the MVP and, he kind of out of nowhere, or a pitcher, or a team has I think I played 86 Mets on Status Pro and they did not win the division. And I'm wondering if you guys have had experiences like that before with APBA.
Well, I can speak for myself. I have. I know that I can remember a player in particular when I played the 57 season National League. There was an outfielder for the Cardinals named Jim King.
Okay.
And he wasn't a regular outfielder. He was a reserve. But I pinch hit him and played him occasionally during the season. And the guy was hitting like 570 about a third through the season. And I'm like, and he leveled off later. But there are things like that. When I played out seasons, the division winners, most of the time, the records were pretty close.
Yeah.
But there were exceptions. When I did one time, in 57, the Pirates did much better. I'm a Pirates fan, so maybe I was projecting positivity on the team. They did about 8 wins or 9 wins better than their actual record was. So,
I wonder how much that happens too, where it is something, some spoon bending going on,
yeah, maybe a second roll of the dice here or there.
Oh, great book. Raymond Coover, Universal Baseball Association. I think it's 1960s, but it's about a guy who invents a game like that with dice rolling. When you said another roll of the dice, it reminded me of that book. So really anybody who's interested in role-playing baseball and is looking for a baseball book might want to check out Universal Baseball Association by Raymond Coover.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that tip.
Excellent.
Coover's fictional baseball game in that book is very similar to APBA. And in fact, Coover has been a guest speaker at older APBA conventions.
Okay.
At least one.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask anybody that played the game when they were a kid or older, did you guys ever make your own cards sometimes to fill out the rosters for when they had the September call-ups and you make your own cards to make it more realistic?
I didn't do that, but I made some all-time teams.
Okay.
Usually not by season. I did that before. I grew up a Cubs fan, so I had a team of what I thought was the best season at first base. I've read the back of baseball cards a lot. So I picked maybe a best season at each position, put them all together on a team.
Oh, okay.
Did that with a couple other teams too.
Now, how many of you played APBA? I know Steve and both Steves, right? And myself. So three of the 8 that are left here. Okay.
Ted's been playing since 1962.
Wow. That's amazing.
I played it some, but Bill Lilly is on this call, and Bill is a very avid APBA player and collector of sets.
Wow.
He's got a whole wall of APBA.
That's amazing. I know.
Bill, you've unmuted. Say something.
Yeah, I'm here. Just
Tell him about your collection of APBA cards.
I've got 180 season sets over the 120 years. There's at least one set per year.
Wow.
Some of the sets like 61, 68, which had the Tigers, which was the zenith of my youth. There's 5 or 6 different sets. So that's how I get the large number for 120 years of Major League Baseball.
starting in 1901. But I do a lot more looking at the cards. They're great to take to the library when you need to take a dump for 5 minutes to peruse. Finding time to play. I know the games are only 15, 20 minutes, but I train year round for half Ironmans in triathlon. And by the time I get to a free period of the day, I'm too tired to play. But I love having the cards. It's a sense of well-being to look at them. In fact, I had them shipped by freighter. I live on the beach in Hua Hin, Thailand, to facilitate my training. So I had to have them shipped 6 months by ocean freighter, and then created or recreated my wall over here. I call it the Great Wall of APBA. I hope I don't get trademark infringement from the Chinese people, but so far so good. So it's been a great life. I've played 54 seasons or 54 years of APBA baseball, and I've dabbled with the one off Long Island and some others, but the thing that John mentioned about the APBA community is very true. The conventions are great. You meet people you only knew by a name on the internet, and 98% of the people are just good people, help each other out. And in fact, my 51 set, it's a reprint, of course, not an original. The guy that sold them to me had told me that there's copies of the Rashi and Reynolds card, and oh, okay. Well, there's a guy, Wayne Coble, who started the APBA card bank, and I dropped him a line. Any chance, you've got originals of Rashi and Reynolds in 51? And the guy sent them to me. Hey, how much do I owe you? Oh, nothing. We just help people out. And that's kind of the way it is in the whole community. It's a great place to be. I enjoy it. I love the conventions. COVID has wiped them out for a couple years and kept me stuck here. But APBA is great. It takes me back to the USA and my youth.
Nice.
Well, it looks like we still have about 7 minutes on the clock from SABR. Anybody have any other comments or anything they'd like to share before our clock runs out?
Well, on the question of accuracy for any particular season anybody's playing, or a player's season or a team season, I mean, really, it takes an understanding of what it takes to achieve real randomness with dice. You need about 10,000 dice rolls for true randomness. So, a batter's 600 at bats is, you're going to get a lot of volatility in individual numbers. But as you get up to the team's totals, things start being less volatile. And when you get the league-wide totals for things like batting averages and some of the subsets of stats, they can get quite close if the game is done right. And if the game is done right, this is for math people, standard deviations. You come within one standard deviation. If you do that, I think it's 67% of the time. And if you come within 2 standard deviations, 95% of the time. Well, when your base is 20 home runs, a standard deviation can allow for a big spread, and 2 standard deviations, which you'll get a third of the time, is a huge spread, is an even bigger spread. So anybody who's got a 20, 30, 40 home run hitter and says, oh, this guy only hit 18 home runs for me, or this guy hit 58 home runs for me, that's not necessarily out of line from what you should expect on a sample size, the number of rolls that a batter gets.
It's a funny game. I mean, baseball. I'm not surprised that, you know, if you would do a season over, I don't think the same teams are going to win all the. I mean, the same teams necessarily going to win. It's just
That's a good
the way
point.
the game goes.
That's a good point. And a guy who hits 40 home runs one year might hit 18 another.
So true.
Kind of you're getting a redo with the ABBA, huh? The ABPA. You get a
Yeah, you
redo of
also
the season.
get, you also have 20/20 hindsight, right? So you're gonna say, well, this is when I'm gonna use this guy. The manager doesn't have the hindsight. He's got to have foresight.
So this is an interesting point. I never really thought of that because the manager, yeah, maybe knows what the guy did last year or knows what the guy, but he doesn't have the card for that season while they're playing the season.
Yeah, he ends up using the bum pitcher, you know, in a key situation, whereas you'll never put him in a key situation.
Right, now that you know what he's done over the course. Yeah, it's an interesting point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, he's only a bum pitcher because the manager put him in.
Okay, guys, I got to scram. It's been enjoyable being with you. Keep smiling.
Yeah,
Likewise,
thank you.
coming.
Thank you, guys. A lot of fun. Thank you very much for putting that together.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night now.
Good evening.